and I welcome all the participants. I see there are about 20 of them.
Yes.
Okay, so shall we begin?
Yes, sir. More participants.
Okay, so welcome. Sorry. Sanya, you want to say something?
No. So you can continue.
Okay. So welcome to this session on building and managing a team, especially in a startup that you are all planning to, or you've already got into. So working with teams is a very it's an inevitable thing. You cannot avoid it. You have to be with people, and because as a startup, startups cannot be done completely single-handedly. So I mean, we all know that. I'm sure you would have partnered with somebody in terms of it doesn't have to be a partner within your venture, but somebody who would have guided you or who would be helping you in getting the putting things together and making it happen. And apart from that, you also would need people who would be a working team with you as well. So here we're going to talk about what is it that we need to understand about the people who would be working with you as a team. So this is an interesting acronym. I'm sure you would have come across this. Though team is not an acronym, if you look at it as an acronym, it says together everyone achieves more. So that's an interesting anecdote, I would say. Because single-handedly we may want to achieve things, or we may want to do we may want to take up an activity or a venture, but it is definitely a given thing that we would not be able to continue without the help or assistance from people around us. So that is the main concept of today's discussion. So I want to introduce an interesting concept called generativity. What is this concept called generativity? There was this American, German-born American psychologist by name Erik Homburg Eriksson, who actually has put together different thoughts, different concepts. And one of that, which is, I would say, fairly new and raw, is a concept called generativity. And what is this generativity all about? Generativity is a concept which is, I would say, it's prevalent in all mature adults in the society, where as we grow up, we want to make sure that in some way or the other we become contributive to the teams below us or teams who work with us and help them to also be successful. So as per the theory that Eric puts it, this is a concept which is available almost in every individual as the cognitive years build up, because of your experience and your interaction with the society and so on. So how do we put this concept to use in our respective ventures? Let's say, you have a startup, you have put together, you're coming up with a venture, so you need people to be with you. So what is it that we can do with respect to building a team or making it more stronger? So if you look at this as a concept, it's nothing but, as I said, it's a psychosocial sense of people who, as they grow, as they mature in the environment that they are a part of, they also gain the knowledge which would help the future generations to also become more and more successful. So that is what the concept of generativity is all about. So if you look at this, while applying this concept, what I did was I think we need to put a framework using which we can move forward. Because if we have to have a direction to go forward, there has to be a framework, right? And so how do we create that framework? So there has to be a guiding principle that would ensure us, or that would initiate this framework. So the engagement principle for this is nothing but together, or in a reciprocative manner, we would help each other to succeed. So that's what he mentions here, a commitment to reciprocity that includes what you require of the team and what we provide in exchange for overall success. So the guiding factors for this are alignment, openness, and initiative. I'm sure these, as words, I think we are all familiar with these words, right? Alignment means getting in line or bringing it into one streamline. Openness is being open to experiment, being open to learn, being open to try new things, and so on. And initiative is the step that we take moving forward, right? So that's the initiative. So these three as guiding factors will support this, the generativity as an engagement principle. So how do we make this, how do we bring this into the framework? So there are 5 stages that a team would go through, right? Or any individual within a team would go through. So based on the research that Homburg had done, so Eric says that the first level is almost like, this is in line with the Maslow's theory. I'm sure if you are familiar with that, Maslow's theory of motivation, which talks about the different, the guiding principle, which is based on the need, okay, and how a person would get motivated. So similarly, a person within a team, to start with, he is in the detractive stage. Detractive is like the opposite of attractive, which is where the person is new. He's not involved in what the team is about to do or whatever the venture that the team is into. Okay, so but he has got for some reason he has becoming a part of the team. So this is a stage where the individual is just observing and assimilating all the facts around him or her. So a detractive stage is where there is nothing that is being contributing, or there's nothing that's coming out of that from that individual. And then on, slowly the person becomes or moves to the next stage, which is called the passive stage. Now the passive stage is where the person is become a part of the team, but still not actively involved. So he is passively involved, which means his presence is there, but then he is not actively participating. So this is a stage where a person begins to understand how he needs to be able to contribute, and what could be his role in that team. And then from there on, he moves to the next stage, which is participative. Now, participative is a stage where the individual becomes a part of the team. When I say he becomes a part of the team, he becomes an active member of the team. Okay, so that's the way we need to look at it. But he is yet to start being productive or to contribute, because that will be the next stage when he moves on to the next stage, which is contributive. Now, contributive is the stage where this individual also begins to contribute to the team's goal. And then on, he moves to the next stage, which is generative. Okay, so these are the 5 stages. So what would be the duration of these stages? Nobody can specify it that way. because it could be, it could vary depending on different factors. But the most important, the factors that we already spoke about, which is the initiative, openness, and alignment. Now, these are the three important factors which guide this individual to become a part of the team. So how do we make this happen? The person who is in charge of the team becomes the responsible anchor for the team. So this person has to take up the initiative to make sure that the individual who joins the team moves into this direction. So from research or from by statistics, what we understand is moving from a detractive to a passive stage is a very important and critical move, because that's when it decides whether this person is going to be a member of the team or not. So the more quickly the person moves into this passive stage, the better it is that he becomes a part of the team. So this should not take more than a couple of days, I would say. Okay, because of course the initial the reason why this person is coming into the team is because he has some reason why he should be a part of the team. But then if let's say you're hiring somebody as part of the team, then this person would have to go through this stage. From being passive to participative, the leader has a big role to play there in terms of how the individual can be made, can be engaged, or can be given responsibilities to make him a part of the team. Because only when this person shows interest in understanding what it is, what is the requirement, and how this person can contribute, he cannot become participative. So being participative is a stage where the person will actually begin to make sense in terms of him or her being a part of the team. So it is not fair to expect this person to become contributive immediately. So because contribution, when we talk about contribution, it is not about this person being able to create a report or generate an invoice and things like that. Contributive in this sense, we are talking about how this person can bring in new ideas or changes in the system. So that is the level of contribution that we need to be looking at. Nevertheless, any way the person can contribute by bringing in new ideas is always welcome. But participative is where the person becomes an important member of the team. We can put it that way. All right. So as we look at it, if the person has to go through these 5 stages, the 3 factors actually move to become, at their highest level, because they are at the lowest level when the person is beginning to, enter the team, and and he has to reach the generative stage. Generative stage is at a very high level, so that will take a long time. So basically what we are looking at here is how this can be looked at as in the form of an X chart. So that is for an easy remembrance, that anytime you will be able to recall this as an X chart. So if you draw the lines in this fashion, it's easy for you to understand, remember the factors and the stages that the person has to go through. So how do we make this happen? So if the next question is what is the leader's role? I'm sure you must have heard of this, the Tuckman's model. Bruce Tuckman is another very famous psychologist, and this model is quite popular as well. It's called the Tuckman's model of team development. So he talks about there are 4 stages a team goes through. So far what we saw when we talk about generativity as a concept, that's about applying it to an individual who becomes a part of the team. But as a team, what is the different stages the team will go through? Now these are the 4 stages the team will go through. First being the forming stage. which means the team gets together, understands each other. This could be, it doesn't have to be for a new team. It can be for any time the team gets into a team meeting or so. You know, just like, you know, how we know each other, but still when we meet on a specific occasion, we just greet each other and, you know, exchange pleasantries and all that. So that is the forming stage, basically. So it's more of, it is a ritualistic thing, but then again, that sets the momentum for the team. Okay, so that's the forming stage. The next is the norming stage. I'm sorry, the storming stage. And storming is where actually the opinions, the different points of view, the different opinions when it comes out from every member of the team, how they exchange their thoughts. While they do that, it's bound to get into a storming phenomenon, basically because there are lots of differences in opinions and thoughts. Now, this is actually the formative stage in the team development, where you know, people have different views, different thoughts about how to handle a certain thing or a concept or a strategy. So the storming is an important thing, because that's when, in fact, people, we must have heard of this brainstorming sessions. Brainstorming sessions are nothing but artificially created storming sessions, wherein you ask people, what do you think about this? So what is your thought on this? Now, how do you think we can handle this? You know, so when you ask different questions like this within the team, and the team comes out with the different answers, now that's how a storming happens, right? So the brainstorming is what we are referring to here. So from the storming stage, it goes on to the norming stage. So after the norming, after the storming, then, you know, things settle down quietly. So people begin to understand what is the right way of doing it, or which is the you know, what's feasible, what's not feasible, what's practically possible, you know, logical and, you know, logistics and all of that. So putting all these factors together, the team comes to a settlement of what is to be done, what should not be done, and so on. So that's when they start understanding the common purpose of the team or that particular activity. So things actually get into a norming stage. Okay, so it starts with the forming, it goes to storming, and then the norming, and then you get to the fourth stage, which is the performing stage. Now, performing is the stage where whatever decisions that have been taken, or whatever understandings that have been agreed upon, the team starts to execute all of that. So that's when the activity begins. All right. So that's called the performing stage. So you have the forming, storming, norming, and performing stage. And of course, the fifth one was recently introduced, which is the adjourning stage. Now, adjourning is actually where it would apply to maybe specific tasks, not for every team meeting, I would say, because whenever the team meets for discussions on you know, a particular topic, or about an activity, then it doesn't actually go to the adjourning stage then, but then the team will actually disperse when the team is ready to start performing. So that's what happens. But adjourning is a stage where actually the particular activity or a task will come to an end. So it doesn't apply to us at this stage now. So what I'm referring to is, now we saw how an individual can become a part of a team, and how the individual can become a contributor in the team. And when you look at handling the team as such, what are these different stages that we can look at? Okay, so these are the two models that I wanted to share with you. An interesting study on how what makes a team successful, and if you draw a matrix between companies or organizations which are focused only on driving results versus the focus on culture, and we see that both will have to be at an equal will have to be given equal importance to, because if that is not done, then the companies will not survive. So there are, of course, there are companies where the focus is more on only performance in terms of numbers and the running behind the sales and all that. People may not stick on with those companies for long, okay, because there is no human connectivity there, which is nothing but the culture. So culture building is a very important concept. Culture building actually makes sure that the team sticks together. So in fact, that's what we were looking at in the first couple of slides. I had mentioned that building a culture is very important. I'm sure as entrepreneurs, you must have already decided on what your vision and what is the mission that you are on right now you've taken up. So if you want to be successful in that, it is important that you engage the people in the teams and make sure that every single person in the team is abiding by the culture. Now that will give you sustainable success, right? So which means that the focus on culture as well as the results are almost at the equal levels. Now that is when a company, an organization can become successful. Okay, so far we have seen how to make this team functional, how to make this team to become productive, to be able to execute. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is about how a leader would guide the team. So there are typically two ways of how a leader can guide a team. And globally, it has been, we have seen that these are the only two ways a team can be guided. One is what you see now in this picture of this single robot. And if you look at it, if you observe carefully, the person who is sitting in the front is actually the leader, and he doesn't have an oar. So everybody else in the team, they have an oar each, and this person is actually facing the team and not the direction the team is moving towards. So this is typically a way of guiding the team, which requires, I would say, undivided attention in terms of what every single member of the team is supposed to be doing. So here, if you observe carefully, the leader's job is not to worry about where you're heading. So the leader's job here is to only focus on how the team members are performing. So thereby, of course, he is part of the team there. If you can see that he is also sitting along with them at the same level and all that. But then his role is to actually more towards guiding and supporting the team to be able to perform and execute what they are expected to. And that's when they would, as a team, move forward. So this is one way of handling a team. The other way of handling a team is like what you see in this picture, which is the whitewater rapids. Now here in this the raft, if you see, you may not be able to point out who the leader is because everybody is actively participating in the activity, right? So this is the other way of handling a team. One is where you focus on the team's performance, whereas while the team is heading towards the goal. The other way of handling the team is where you also get down and work with the team and make sure the team is performing. So in a typical startup environment, as an entrepreneur, you probably would have to be doing both or maybe at one stage you may have to handle it in like the single rowboat, or maybe in another stage like the wild water rafting. So these are the two ways how you can actually handle a team. So I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. So we've also seen it in these two well-known movies that we would have come across. If you observe carefully, the concept is the single rowboat and the wild water rafting. So these are the two ways how teams can be handled. So that's it from me, and I'm open to any questions. Before we close, I would like to close it with this interesting quote from Phil Jackson. Most of you probably know him. Phil Jackson is one of the top successful sportsmen in the world, and he's the man behind the Chicago Bulls. I mean, if you're familiar with basketball, then you would. I don't have to tell you anything about him. So this quote caught my attention. He says, "The strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team." So which very strongly suggests how there is no difference between any of the individuals within the team. So regardless of your role, your designation and responsibility, as a team, we all will have to work together to make it happen. So with that, I close the session, and I'm open for any questions you may have. Sanya, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Krishnan, for such an inspiring session. We do have few questions coming in. So the first one is, what do we have to do when a leader does not respond to us when we need help and advice? And when we do work on our own, they scold us. Do we still keep working for that team, or what do we do? Or we leave that team?
Okay, so I think this is a question from a team member with about the leader.
Correct.
Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. So I think you to this person, my response would be, you'll have to stand up for your cause. You'll have to stand up and it is not being you're not getting into a conflict, but at the same time you should not keep quiet and let this happen. You probably will have to discuss this. One thing I strongly believe in is nothing can be or anything can be achieved when you discuss it with the concerned person. Otherwise, what will happen is you're normally in your own thoughts, and that might mislead you. So it's better to discuss it first and have things cleared out so that you're able to take a better decision.
Okay, so the next question that we have is, how do you recruit people if you don't have any prior experience in recruiting? How would you know if the particular person is apt or not for the job?
Yeah, number one is, of course, going by the books. And when I say going by the books, I'm referring to the academic qualifications, and if at all any experience is required, you'll have to look at those things. And the second thing is to, of course, the interview and all that will give you a sense of what this person is. I would say the best way is to go by references. If somebody whom you trust is referring somebody, then at least 70% chances are that this person is what he or she is being exposed to as. So references will be because many organizations believe in that. Employee referrals is a big thing. So even for you, your startup venture, I'm sure if somebody whom you trust is referring someone to you, then you can go with that.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, there are few members in a team who are not as potential as others. How to make them grow on their potential?
Sorry, could you repeat that, please? I
Sure,
didn't get the
sure.
first part.
So the question is that there are few members in a team who are not as potential as others. How to make them grow on their potential? How to make them grow with others?
Right. I think what you're trying to say is who are not as productive as others, because
Right.
potential is different from being productive. A
Mhm.
person may have the potential to do certain things, but may not be very constructive or productive in a certain area. So it is the responsibility of the leader to first ascertain what his potential is and which is his area of potential. So if you're able to identify that, and then you can definitely make sure that this person gets uh, the responsibilities in that area. Now this is called setting him up for success. If you want someone to fail, then you actually put them in a role where they don't have the potential to perform. So first you need to identify the difference between where his potential is. So once you've identified that, then you have to see whether this person has a role to play there or not. Let's say, for example, if yours is an analytical venture, and if there is somebody who has got a sales, who has got a great potential in the sales area, he may not be of great contribution for you. So identifying that is the most important thing. It's not about the academic qualification or the person's interest and all that, but then you need to identify whether this person has the right potential. Hope that answered your question.
Okay, Mr. Vijayana, the next question is how to get a team if we don't know others who is trustful or not. So I understand what he's trying to say is that how do you form a team when you don't know if you can trust the other person or not?
It's a very difficult question. Actually, everything starts from trust. So in fact, I tell my in my office also, in my all the managers, I said first you have to build the trust. So when someone comes and tells you that I have a stomach pain and I cannot come, and so if you're going to ask him for a medical certificate and all that, you're not trusting him. So basically, the trust has to be built from the beginning. And if you're getting people into your team, first of all, you need to do the hiring right, the right way of hiring people, or right way of recruiting people, getting them into your team. So if that is not done correctly, then you get into it's like a spiral. So the most important thing is to build trust. So if you're saying that if you cannot trust this person, then there is nothing that can work. So it is that individual, as an individual, you need to have the confidence in yourself so that you're able to trust that individual. If you're not able to trust that individual, then there is nothing that you can do about it.
Okay. So the next question is, suppose the leader wants more participation from its team member, but the team members are taking that thing in wrong way. In that situation, what do you do?
Again, I'll go back to one of my previous answers where I would say that an open discussion would actually sort out these kind of situations, these kind of issues from cropping up. So setting expectations is a very important aspect of team building or team development. So if you want to work as a team, it is important that you set expectations. You set the right expectations in terms of your style of working, your expectations as a leader. All that will have to be laid out very clearly, I would say. Most of the times I see, people fail to do that. They just take it at face value saying that, if this person agrees to what you're saying or what your expectations are, they go to the extent of saying that yes, he has understood, he knows what he is supposed to deliver, and he is going to deliver. But the bad or the negative side of it will be that that person has probably not understood, and he is not able to articulate that with the leader properly. So this gets into again a very a negative spiral. So that should not happen. So the discussions, talk, right? As more and more you discuss with your team or with your leaders, that's when you can sort out clarifications, get better clarity on expectations, and then you will be able to move forward with a lot of ease. I think this applies to all of us. Otherwise, what happens is perceptions. We think of something and then we keep brooding over that, and then that gets into more and more complications. So better to avoid all that. The best thing to do is to talk, open up discussions, talk it out, and sort it out.
Okay, Mr. Vijayan, we have a lot of questions coming up. The next one is how much a team leader should be in control of the team? Should it be too much, or till what extent should it be controlling the team?
I would not agree with the fact of being in control. What is a control? They're not pet animals, right? You're not going to control them. So I would say that the usage of the word itself is not correct, in the sense that give people their space. There are the policies or your whatever you lay down as the rules and regulations of an organization. They are there to make sure that things will be in order. So as long as that is in place, you should not, as a leader, should not think of controlling people. So I don't know if that's what this person meant, but what I'm trying to explain here is give everybody, every individual who is joining your team, you should, first of all, that person has to be an important member of your team. And if you think that the person is not bringing in any value, if the person is not going to contribute to the team's success, then there is no point in having that person in the team. And if there is somebody who is going to be extremely contributive, then this person has to function independently. So which means that you're not going to control that person, right? So the control is not required, as long as, that's why we have the laws and, the compliance and all of that. So there are rules and regulations which are laid down by the government, and, so there are those things like how we have, specified number of leaves and, working time, and all of that is there, right? So sometimes, so we'll have to just let those things take care of it, and we should move away from trying to control people and move towards achieving what you want to achieve as a team.
Correct. So there's another question related to that, which is, if a member does not contribute in the team for a teamwork, then how do we motivate him or inspire him to do that work?
Right. First of all, you'll have to see why he is not doing it. Try to find out the reason why the person is not contributive. Is it a skill issue or a will issue? It's very simple. So first you'll have to get down to the basics to understand why this person is not contributing. And once you're clear with that, then that automatically throws light on what is your next action. If you think it's a will issue, then you can't do much about it. Probably you can discuss with that person why he is not willing to do it. If this is not his cup of tea, or he doesn't like this, or he needs more remuneration, or could be any reason, right? So and as long as you are able to identify what that is. If it's a skill issue, it's a very simple thing. So if it's a skill issue, that person needs training on that. That person needs to be trained on that particular area. So once this person is comfortable with how to do it, he will be able to do it. So it is just understanding whether it's a skill issue or a will issue, and then take the appropriate action.
Okay, Mr. Vijay, the next question is how to resolve group conflicts in an early startup.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Actually, conflicts do happen. While we may want to believe that we don't want to have any conflicts, conflicts do arise, and so I would say, again, talk about it, discuss it. The best way of doing it is, in fact, there are different ways of handling a conflict. You can avoid it and walk away, or you may want to take it up, discuss that, and then sort it out. The best way to do that is to call for a meeting, scheduled meeting. Say that, okay, let us discuss it at 3 p.m. on the 21st. Okay, and who all need to be there, and then when we do it. So the moment you start scheduling it like that, that itself gives it a certain um, shape to it. So it becomes a more formalized. So when you sit down and discuss that, then and also people should respect each other's presence. So that needs to be also laid down, and everybody should go by maintaining the decorum of the meeting and all that. And once you have this discussion, I think things can be sorted out.
Okay. Mr.
And it
Vijay,
is
the next
important that,
question. Yeah, please continue.
yeah, sorry. So especially for startups, especially for new entrepreneurs in these ventures, these kind of conflicts are bound to happen. It can happen with two individuals or a group of people. It can happen that way. But whoever it is, I think this is for all of us. I'm saying it is important that you take it up separately at a different time and schedule it, and then sit down and discuss and sort it out, because that's the best way to move forward. Otherwise, your productivity will get affected. Yeah. Thanks,
Okay.
Anya. Please go on.
Yes. Mr. Vijay, the next question is firing of a team member can be an option for the growing the overall efficiency?
If firing of a team member.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if it is required, you have to do it. Yes. And the reason better be very clear. This is something which you need to maintain a lot of transparency, especially in a amidst a group of people. It should not be any personal reasons. Like personally, we may like somebody, we may not like somebody, but that should not be a reason for hiring or firing people. And that's where professionalism comes in, right? So we need to be very transparent about why you have to fire this person. Is it a cost reduction mode, or strategy, or maybe if you think that this person's productivity level is very bad, or whatever it is, performance issues and things like that. So better be transparent, but if you have to fire, you have to fire, yes.
Okay. So the next question is, what if the leader identified the weakness of a member and even encouraged it, but the member is not ready to overcome it?
Okay, this again goes back to that will and skill that I was talking about. So if the member is not able to overcome that particular issue, so we need to understand why he doesn't want to do that, why he doesn't want to overcome that. And even after pointing it out, if the person doesn't want to change, then we need to understand why. Then of course you have to use the same strategy of shape up or ship out. So that's the way going forward, I think.
Okay. The next question is, what if the ownership given to a team member later on moves out of that ownership? In that case, what can be done?
I don't get the question. It's not very clear.
Okay, I'll just repeat that for you. What if the ownership given to a team member later on moves out of that ownership, as in if that person
Huh.
leaves the company, in that case, what can be done? One
So
person,
what can be done in the sense, like, is that the team member is asking this question?
uh, yes.
Now that's where I'm saying is not very clear. See, what I'm saying is the leadership moved or leadership changed, and because of that, certain members' responsibility moved. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. So those are situations which are bound to happen, right? It happens. So if you look at it from the organization point of view, that is an organizational decision that is being taken at a management level. So that needs to be respected. But if you look at it from the individual's point of view, the individual will definitely feel, dejected, isolated, or whatever. So again, for that person, for that individual, it is for up to him or her to take it up and talk about it. So there are only two ways in this, that the individual can take it up and say, then why was the responsibility removed from me? I was doing a great job, and I am doing a great job. That could be one way of handling it. Otherwise, or the other way could be that this person just accepts it and moves on. So these are the only two ways the individual can act.
Okay, and we have a lot of questions coming in. This will be my last question to you. What should be a leader's responsibility in case if one of the team members is very competent enough and hardworking, but he is not able to mix with the other four team members and find conflicts?
Okay, this will definitely lead to conflicts, and so it is now in this situation it is the leader's responsibility to make sure that every member of the team understands this person. See, it's a personality issue. This person is probably an intellectual, very competent in whatever the skills and all that, but then this person could be an introvert, somebody who believes in being all by himself or herself. So that kind of person is not going to be very conversative. He's not going to be very active as a team member and all that. But while his performance at work could be great, right? So that is the situation you're referring to. So it is the responsibility of the leader to make sure that others also accept him that way. That's the only way out. Otherwise, what will happen is the entire team will, will completely reject him. And this person, whatever be his intellectual level and all that, he may not be able to participate in the team at all.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vijay Anand, for the great session and answering all the questions in detail. Thank you to all our attendees for participating in the webinar. We are glad that the questions kept coming in, but due to lack of time, we are unable to answer them all. Please do send in your feedback to us on the shared link. Also, if you found the session interesting, feel free to blog or post about it. The recorded version of the webinar will be available at www.youtube.com/user/eclubnen online soon. We will share the details of our next webinar very soon. We thank you once again and have a nice evening. Thank you, Mr. Vijay Anand.
You're most welcome, Sanya, and my best wishes to all the young entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you.